back here, everybody, to the Just Ballin' podcast. And for today's episode, I'm kind of excited about this one. So everybody's talking about the current 16 teams that are in this year's playoffs, and there are currently another 14 teams on the outside looking in. When's the next time they are getting in? So for today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to pretty much just give you guys the next year. I think every single NBA team that didn't make the playoffs this year will get in next. So yeah, I'm pretty much just going to put every team into a bucket. Do I think that they're going to make the playoffs next year in 2026, 7, 8, all the way till 2030? Because if you're not going to make the playoffs in the next 5 years, then I don't know, man. That's just way hard, like too hard to do in today's modern NBA where there's so much talent and there's so many playoff spots. And I know the Charlotte Hornets haven't made the playoffs since 2016, but I don't know, man. I just think every team that didn't make the playoffs this year should at least have one appearance by the year 2030. So yeah, we got to talk about 14 teams today. Let's get into this. Let's start off with the Utah Jazz. Now, the Utah Jazz finished with one of the worst records in the NBA. They finished with the worst record in the NBA. So a lot of this changes depending on how the lottery goes. Like, if the Jazz get the number 1 overall pick and they're able to get Cooper Flagg and they keep Lauri Markkanen, I mean, there's a chance as early as 2027. Same with a couple of these other teams. But if they fall to 5, they take a little bit of a project player. Like, say they take Kamon Watch, say they take Kasperi Shakuchonis, Jeremiah Fears. It may take a little bit longer for this team to make the playoffs, and they're going to be really bad next year as well. So I think for the Utah Jazz, like, they have a lot of nice contracts on their team that I think they could still look to move. Like Colin Sexton, John Collins could be a sign and trade. This offseason, we'll see if they extend Walker Kessler, who I thought was like a top 20-ish defender this year. I still think they're in the growing pains right now with their team. Like, they're still figuring out what Keontae George is going to be for them long term, but he's definitely one of their more exciting young assets. Jordan Clarkson, I expect to get traded if there's a market. TBD on Markkanen, but they probably should trade Lauri Markkanen this offseason, that's for sure. Hendricks is coming back. Cody Williams has a long ways to go as well. Sensabaugh showed some flashes this year. Same with Filipowski and Collier. Like, they're going to be competitive. They're not making the playoffs next year. I even think with Cooper Flagg, like, it would be tough for them to make it in 2027. Like I said, really depends on what happens with the lottery. And for the Utah Jazz specifically, Lauri Markkanen. Because Markkanen's still a good player. Is he overpaid at this point? Yes. But if he's back, like, he still can be like this nice swingman that can give them 20 points a night, that could be a good efficient scorer. But Markkanen's probably better off as a number 2. Or if you're really going for it all, a number 3. And right now he's a number 1 in Utah. I think 2028 is fair. There's a chance I bump the Jazz to 2029. I just know that they're going to land. I mean, there's a really good chance they're going to land Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, one of those guys in this draft, even if they don't get Cooper Flagg. I like Will Hardy. Like, that can come into this as well. Ownership, the front office, and ownership hasn't really been too aggressive. Like Ryan Smith, I forget exactly when he took over, but I'm pretty sure he was part of the team when they traded away Mitchell and Gobert. Usually teams do the opposite move. They try to make a win-now move when it's a new owner. We saw that with the Phoenix Suns. We're seeing that. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks traded away Luka Doncic with a new owner. So I think Utah's got like a foundation there. They got a good general manager in Danny Ainge. They have a smart young head coach in Will Hardy. I think the Jazz 2028 is fair because they're going to still also have a lot of draft capital over the next few years as well. Like this year, they're going to have at minimum 2 first-round picks. Going forward, they have that future Suns pick they got this year down the line. Yeah, like they have a plethora of draft capital at the moment. So I'm going to say that the Jazz are going to be a playoff team in 3 years from now. Next up, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they'll be back next year. So also what helps the Sixers, that hurts the Jazz. The Sixers are in the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference is a very, very weak conference compared to the West right now, but you got to expect a lot of these teams in the East to be better next year. Like, Charlotte has to be better, right? Washington has to be better. Philly has to be better. Toronto is going to be better. Orlando should be better, even though they made the playoffs this year. And Philly just had so many injuries with Paul George, with Joel Embiid, with Tyrese Maxey earlier in the year. And I know it was an absolute disaster in 2025 with Paul George. This is still a good team, fully healthy, with or without Paul George being the caliber he's been in the past. Because Quentin Grimes looks like he could be a legitimate 6-man for you next year. Maybe you have to start him at this point, next to Tyrese Maxey, who's an all-star caliber point guard, starting at the 1 for you. If Embiid can find, I don't know if he's going to be healthy, right? Like, we never know with Embiid. And even if he is healthy, can he be healthy throughout a whole regular season? I don't know. Even like 80% of Joel Embiid is still one of the best big men we've seen in a while. Now, this year he did not look great when he was out there, but I don't know. I don't think I can really like guess Embiid's health until we get closer to the start of the regular season, but Jared McCain's going to be healthy. They found something in Justin Edwards. And then they have a good chance of keeping their first round pick this year. There's a high chance they're able to keep it and it doesn't go to OKC. They're going to hopefully be able to bring back Ersan Yabusele in free agency. I think the Sixers are going to make the playoffs in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're a playing tournament team, like as a 7th seed, similar to 2024, but they got to be back in next year, especially if they get some luck in the lottery. Like, imagine they had Cooper Flagg. It'd be ridiculous. I think even if Embiid is banged up, they should be a lot better with McCain, Maxey, Grimes, and Edwards every single night. And Paul George can't be much worse, right? Right. For Washington, I'm gonna say, oh man, like Washington and Utah, it's so dependent on Cooper Flag. Because hey, if you're the 7 seed or 8 seed, that doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot. You still have to win the playing tournament. I'm gonna say, oh man, I go back and forth between. I may make Washington and Utah 2028. Like, yeah, like Washington's not making the playoffs next year. I don't think they're taking a Pistons like jump. I don't think they have that guy yet. Maybe they have Cooper Flag that can help them in 2027, but I think 2027 is more their playing tournament team. Like next year, they're going to win 8 or so more games. 2027 playing tournament team flirting with 500. Boom, 2028, they can make the playoffs. I would feel very confident about that if they get Cooper Flag. I would feel more confident to bump them down in 2029 if they don't get Cooper Flag. I think that depends a ton as well. And then we're going to learn throughout the 2026 draft, can Darren Peterson step in right away and help you, or AJ DeBanza, or Cameron Boozer, somebody in that department. Because I mean, the Wizards have just a decent amount of young core pieces that they want to see play next year. I mean, Middleton and Poole and Smart, I expect all to be back next year. Maybe Poole's a wild card. I don't think anybody's trading for Chris Middleton this offseason, or Marcus Smart. But these are veterans that should help them at least contribute next year. Jordan Poole was better this year than he was last year. Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George also showed promise in the second half. Kispert's going to be healthy next year. AJ Johnson showed some flashes. I really like Justin Champagnie as a depth piece. And I think Bilal's a big sleeper for this team, because Bilal got off to a good start this year. We thought it was like a full-on breakout. He really struggled outside of like that first month-ish of the season. Like if you look at Bilal's splits this year, Bilal in the month of, where are we at here? In the month of October, 18 points, 10 points in November on 51% true shooting. He was a little bit better in the month of February, but yeah, if you look at his raw numbers in November, December, January, not good. But he's 20 years old. So we got to be patient with Bilal. This team's going to be patient. I wonder if Brian Keefe is going to be the head coach of this team next year. I think so. But you never know. We'll see what they end up doing this offseason with like Michael Wigner and those guys in that front office now. But yeah, I think the Wizards, I mean, there's a chance they can get the 6th overall pick in this draft. That would hurt them, and I think that would bump them down to like 2029. So Cooper Flag, they get him 2028. If they don't, I think 2029. They're still a little bit away. The Pelicans, oh man, they're a tough team as well, because the Pelicans have another big decision to make this offseason. They fired David Griffin. Joe Dumars is in that front office, so it's a guy that has no attachment to Zion. Will he trade him this offseason? DeJounte Murray's going to miss most of next year, at least the first half. Are they going to bring back Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk this offseason? You have good wings in Murphy and Herb Jones, and McCollum's going to be entering the last year of his deal. I don't think I like this Pelicans team to make the playoffs next year. Cooper Flag changes everything, like he's going to be for a lot of these teams that I'm going to say here. But I can't trust Zion to stay healthy. They're already going to be without their starting point guard next year. McCollum's going to be 33, 34. They've had too many injuries this year to basically everybody, and I don't love their big man depth, which will change this offseason, but I'm actually going to be a little bit pessimistic here, and I think the Pelicans, next time they make the playoffs, man, like I think we're entering towards like a full-on retool for this team. I just want to see Zion healthy, man. I really do. I'm going to say 2028 as well, but I think I want to be a little bit more pessimistic and say they're not going to make the playoffs for a while, just because the West is so competitive, and we're going to get to other teams I'm more excited about next year. The Atlanta Hawks, I think they're going to make the playoffs next year. I think they're going to be a playing tournament team again, which that just seems to be the trend for the Hawks. But I think with Daniels in the backcourt with Trae Young, the promise that Risa Shea showed in his rookie year, Jalen Johnson's going to be back healthy. Onyeka Okongwu was taking some threes. I like the cheap bench pieces they have in Mohamed Gay and Vic Krejci. They're going to have Terrence Mann. I think they'll bring back Harris LeVert, George Niang. They're going to have 2 first-round picks in this draft, one via Sacramento, one via the Lakers. I think the Hawks are going to keep Trae Young this offseason. Quinn Snyder's a good coach. They fired Landry Fields. I forget the name of the guy they hired internally. I'm going to butcher it. I know he's got a big beard. But yeah, I'm going to take Atlanta to make the playoffs next year. I think they'll be in it in 2026. They were the 7th seed this year. No, they were the 8th seed. And then they lost to Orlando, then lost to Miami. But yeah, I do think they're going to be better next year. They're a team that also sneakily like has a lot of injuries every year. But if they could stay relatively healthy, I think they'll be in the playoff picture next year. Because I wonder, like, now you're looking at teams that won't make it. Like, I'm not going to be confident Milwaukee's going to make it because I have no idea what's going on with them in the offseason. I think confidently Cleveland, Boston, New York, Indiana will be back next year. I think Orlando is going to be back next year. I think Detroit is a wild card next year because if they don't make any like external improvements, yeah, Ron Holland could take a step next year or Sar Thompson, but I think a big reason why the Pistons were able to win as many games this year. Now, it's an incredible story. I'm not taking anything away from it. And I've been a big Pistons fan all year long, rooting for them. And I was very high on Cade and their young core. It's just like Orlando had injuries. Miami traded away Jimmy Butler. Philly had injuries. Toronto had injuries. Atlanta had injuries. I do wonder over the course of a season, Detroit also, I mean, I know they're without Isaiah Stewart in the playoffs. And I know Jaden Ivey got hurt. But I would say they were a relatively healthy team compared to some, right? Like Malik Beasley played 82 games. Holland was available. Duren was available. Tim Hardaway was available. Tobias was available. Cade missed 12 games. I mean, like, they weren't the healthiest team, but I do think it could have been a little bit more unlucky for them, which you never know what can happen next year. So I'm not going to say it's a guarantee the Pistons are going to make the playoffs. I think we can have them in there. But if two teams are going to get out, and I got two teams coming in, and who knows about Toronto as well. So we're going to get to that. Maybe Atlanta could bump to 2027. But we'll see. Well, speaking of, I got to make my tough decision right now. Toronto. I think Toronto might be 2027. Actually, that's fair, yeah. I think Toronto's going to be a playing tournament team next year. I think if there's a team that falls out of the playing tournament, Chicago or Miami, depending on what Miami does this offseason, depending on what Milwaukee does this offseason, like, I think Detroit will at least be in the playing tournament. So I think Toronto's going to go from 11 to a top 10 spot. And I don't know if they'll be good enough to make it. I wish we got to see anything out of Brandon Ingram this year with Scotty Barnes because I wonder how that's going to work. But hey, they were banged up a ton this year. Like, Jamal Shed played a ton. Scotty missed 17 games. Agbaji missed 18. Mogbo missed a little bit of time, but also like the rookie stuff. RJ Barrett missed 25 games. That's like 24 games. That's a decent amount. Grady Dick missed 28 games. Like I said, Donovan Mitchell didn't play for them. And Emmanuel quickly missed like 2/3 of the year. He missed 49 games. So, is that right, math? Yeah, he missed 49 games. This team's going to be better next year. I think, okay, so I go back and forth between Atlanta and Toronto. Who do I think is going to make it? Maybe I'm too high on Philly, but they got to be in the playoffs next year, right? I think I still like Toronto next year. Or, excuse me, I think I like Philly more next year. But if Toronto gets Cooper Flag, yeah, they're 2026. Or if they get Dylan Harper, they're 2026. I may change that by the end of this. Next up, we got Dallas. I think, oh, man. So, Kyrie was healthy. I would take Dallas to make the playoffs next year. I mean, now you're really asking me to make a tough decision. Who do I think won't make the playoffs in the West next year? I mean, you never know what some of these teams are going to do this offseason. Memphis could take a step back. Golden State could take a step back. They're just an older roster. The Clippers could take a step back. Older roster. The Lakers, you never know with LeBron and Luka, who's had some injury concerns a little bit, and you never know. And like you think Dallas is going to be on the door. They got to make the playoffs, right? Like, it's a talented roster. I wonder, like, Kyrie tore his ACL in what, February? No, that was March. When was Kyrie's last game? Kyrie's last game this year was on March 3rd. ACLs are a little bit like, they're better now with modern medicine. These guys do not need 12 months to come back from an ACL tear. So you think he can like ramp up in basketball activities? So he went, okay, so March 26th was when the surgery was. I mean, I'm not a doctor by any means. Say he's like cleared for basketball conditions like February of next year. He comes back mid-March of next year. Oh man, you're asking way too much to like ramp him up right away for somebody that was playing like 38 minutes a night before the injury. But they got everybody under contract. 2026 is when they have the Gafford and Washington and Lively free agents. But yeah, like, it's a deep team. Clay's going to be a little bit older. AD's going to be a little bit older. But they got a good roster still if it's healthy. I know they don't have Luka Doncic to show for it, but they also have their lottery first-round pick this year as well. I think Dallas is going to make the playoffs next year. Oh, man. Because if it's not next year, like, is it 2030? Like, which is terrifying. I don't know if San Antonio is going to make the playoffs next year. I'm just going to prematurely put them there at 2027. They were like, respectable before Wemby went down. And they traded for De'Aaron Fox. And they're going to have 2 lottery picks, one with their pick and another one via Atlanta. I wonder if they're going to bring back Chris Paul, or would Chris Paul go to a better team this offseason if he's got one more year left in the tank? I mean, I think like Vassell showed some flashes this year, but still, I don't know how, like, if any of these guys took step forwards, like outside of like Stephon Castle, who was a very promising rookie. There could be some floor spacing issues with this team, but you have one of the more exciting or the most exciting young asset in the league in Victor Wembanyama. As long as he's healthy next year, I think they're going to be a playing tournament team, but I don't know if they get in. So that I might be a little bit more conservative. I do think the Mavericks are still better than them, but it really just depends on what happens in the offseason. They won 34 games. Next up, we got the Portland Trailblazers. I'm going to say 2027 as well. I think they're going to make the playing tournament next year, but then I think they're going to fall out. Like, I think Sacramento is going to be out of the playing tournament and at least one other team. And I think, like, Portland and San Antonio are going to fight for that last spot on the play-in. Like, I was a little bit off on New Orleans, honestly. And I wonder, like, yeah, like Willie Green hasn't been fired when I'm recording this. I wonder if he's going to be the coach next year. But yeah, I think Portland's in a good spot to win more games next year than they did this year. I don't want them to get complacent. I don't love Chauncey Billups and Joe Cronin, but they did get extended. And hey, this year was a big step in the right direction. So hopefully we can get a little bit more continuity with this team. But 36 wins, what's to say that they can't win 42 next year? 6 more games with Sharp another year, Scoot another year, Kamara, Denny, Kling. Like, this is a very talented team. They own a top 10 pick right now going into the lottery, which they're going to be able to add. I don't know, like, if they're going to trade off any of their veterans this offseason. I don't know if there's a Jeremy Grant market. They may trade Anthony Simons, which could hurt them. They could move Robert Williams, really not the biggest loss in the world. So I think you're really taking a step on the internal development. I'll say more so 2027, even if they make, like, they might not even make the playing tournament next year. They may be the 11th seed, but I think they're going to get really close to it. I mean, they were close to the playing tournament this year, right? They were how many games off? They were about 3 games off. Yeah, like, that's a possibility. But I think even if they're a playing tournament team next year, I don't think they win out of the play-in. Phoenix, 2030, 2029. It's a little scary in Phoenix right now because 36-46, not a young roster, terrible defensive roster. I mean, they got to take a page out of the Clippers playbook. I'm not saying let Kevin Durant leave for nothing, but hey, you're going to get assets in return for Kevin Durant, which is great. Save, I don't know, Houston's willing to give you Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, and a first-round pick. I don't know what a Kevin Durant trade package is going to look like. I'm throwing random stuff out there. Or say you can get Khalil Ware, Jovic, and a first, and, like, Wiggins from Miami, and Rozier. I don't know. You're going to get a deeper roster next year. You desperately need a big man. I don't think... If they trade Devin Booker, though, I would say this is 2030, 100%, but I don't expect them to trade Devin Booker. If they buy out Bradley Beal, that's really bad. But if I trade Kevin Durant and you're getting more so role players, defenders, maybe it's a Jaden McDaniels, I don't know. I think I'm open to keeping Bradley Beal. I just don't think Bradley Beal works with Kevin Durant here in that half-court offense. Like, Jones is going to be gone. Cody Martin's probably going to get waived so they can save money there. Micic is going to be gone. Monty Morris is probably going to be gone. Ryan Dunn and Iguodala showed flashes as a rookie. They're not making the playoffs, I think, for a while. I'm going to say 2029. It's not harsh. Maybe 2028, as long as they keep Devin Booker. Yeah, because the ownership's going to be aggressive. Sacramento, I'm going to be a little pessimistic here. I'm going to say, oh man, do I want to say 2030? I don't know what they're going to do. So they fire Monty McNair. They bring in Scott Perry, who was a Knicks GM. But he was not like the main decision maker. That was Steve Mills. And then he was the main decision maker for a little bit, but he oversaw some blunders, but he also oversaw some nice moves that they made leading up to, like, the Brunson signing. He wasn't, I think that was more so Leon Rose. I could be wrong, but either way, they fire Mike Brown. I don't think Doug Christie's going to be the coach next year. Are they all in on Domantas Sabonis? I don't know if I would be. They don't own their first round pick this year, but they own every other first. You got Zach LaVine making a lot of money. You got DeRozan making a lot of money. Keegan Murray has not taken a step forward. If anything, he took a step back this year. I think Malik Monk is probably your one intriguing trade asset, but he's under a nice contract, and he could be a combo guard for you. Jonas Valanciunas is 32. Devin Carter had kind of a washed rookie year, but hopefully healthy, ready to go next year. Keon Ellis is probably your best, like, young asset or cheap asset. They need to get deeper, and not having their first-round pick sucks this year, and the Western Conference is loaded. They won 40 games, and I know they weren't expecting to trade away De'Aaron Fox. I don't think they make the playoffs next year. And then, like, DeRozan and LaVine are just getting older. Sabonis is still, like, fairly young. He's, 28? Yeah, 28. He'll be 29 in a few days. I'm going to be a little pessimistic. I'm going to say, like, they're the Pelicans tier. Like, maybe, I think I'm going to drop them in the Pelicans to 2029. Because I think while these two teams, at least the Pelicans have the best asset between them in Zion, if he could stay healthy. Like, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones are still good pieces around them. They're going to have a first-round pick this year and probably a top 5 pick. I think I like New Orleans more than actually the Kings. So, yeah, I'm going to put the Kings at 2029. Sorry, Kings fans. Brooklyn, it really depends what happens. Because if they get Giannis Antetokounmpo or something like that, or John Moran, like this changes completely. I'm going to say that they're still on the path of like the full-on rebuild, and they're definitely behind teams like the Wizards and the Jazz right now. Like the Nets do not have a young core whatsoever, and they should have lost more games this year. So like, yeah, they have all the draft capital in the world, and they're in a big market, and maybe they're going to try to get a star here this offseason. But the Nets won more games this year than the actively tanking Philadelphia 76ers. Like they won 26 games, which I think is a lot of credit to Jordi Fernandez, the coach. I would assume they're going to trade Cam Johnson this offseason. If the Lakers call about Nick Claxton, I assume they're going to trade Claxton, who has a nice descending contract. D'Lo's a free agent. He could be brought back. Cam Thomas is a free agent, restricted. I assume he's brought back. But yeah, their young core is like Cam Thomas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Noah Clowney. It's not that exciting. They have a ton of draft capital on the way. They're going to have multiple first-round picks this year. They get the Knicks, the Bucks, their first-round pick this year. I think they technically own Houston's first. No, that's the, no, I don't think they own Houston. Either way, they're going to have 3 to 4 first-round picks this year. I forget the exact number, which is exciting. And then you're going to have multiple first-round picks in 2020, or you just have your first-round pick in 2026. 2027, you do not own your first, but you own the Knicks first. You own a Sixers top 8 pick. I think they may have gotten their first-round pick back. Either way, the Nets, I think, are going to sell still in the offseason. I don't think they're going to be a Giannis team, because I do think if Milwaukee actually trades Giannis, they need players back. They don't need draft capital back. What's good Nets picks that are going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo that's probably going to be in the 20s every year? Yeah, there could be an intriguing Suns pick along the way, like a Rockets, but I think the Bucks are more inclined to call up Houston and ask for Green and Şengün, or call up Orlando and ask for Suggs and Franz Wagner. So I don't think the Nets are getting Giannis this offseason. And honestly, I think they're going to continue to build up this young core and then maybe be aggressive down the line. I mean, 3 years is a lot. Maybe they're just because it's a big market and they don't have like any bad contracts. I think they could be on the same path as Utah and Washington. Everything changes though if they get Cooper Flag. Chicago, can I put 2030? I think Chicago should have bottomed out a little bit more. They're probably going to pay Giddey, and I'm worried they're not going to bottom out next year either. And they're going to be a playing tournament team or a fringe playing tournament team. And then they're going to finally realize, maybe too late, that we should have lost a couple more games. So I don't trust the incompetent ownership. I don't trust what the front office has built. I'm putting Chicago 2030. Not to say they don't have good players. Like I'm very excited about Montes Buzelis. I'm very excited about Kobe White, in or not in Chicago. I think Giddey did show enough flashes where he is at least something for you as a short-term initiator. They need another big man. Could they move to Sunmu, or they could extend to Sunmu? They extended Vonzo Ball, but could they trade him? I also don't love their young core either, because I'm super out on Patrick Williams. I like Montes and Giddey. I mean, Kobe White is what, 25 years old? Like that's something for sure, but they need big man help. And I think they're going to keep flirting with being mediocre and then realize in like 2027 that we should have bombed them out. And then they're going to build up the core, and then maybe it's 2030. Charlotte, another team that I just have no faith in, because I predicted them as a playing tournament this year and they weren't. Now, if they trade LaMelo Ball, I think it's 2029. If they get Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper, this could be as early as 2027. I love Brandon Miller. I like LaMelo when he has help. I also do think they have outside of those guys, a disappointing young core. I think T.J. Savant is years away. Nick Smith Jr., I was so high on him and Kobe Buffkin in that 2023 draft, and Nick Smith, I don't think, took advantage of his numbers this year. They may trade Mark Williams. What if they don't get lucky in the lottery? They're not a free agency destination. I like Charles Lee in the front office. Like, it seems like it's at least competent in some way, but I don't think that the Hornets are going to make the playoffs at least until 2029. So that is it for me. I decided to go with Atlanta over Toronto next year in the East. That was kind of tough for me. This is pretty much me predicting where every team is going to be, or every non-playoff team's next playoff appearance is going to be. For next year, 2026, I had Philly, Atlanta, and Dallas. 2027, I have Toronto, San Antonio, Portland. 2028, I have Utah, Washington, Brooklyn, Phoenix, and New Orleans. 2029, I have Sacramento and Charlotte. Sacramento's a big wild card. It might be 2032 if it doesn't go their way. And then 2030, I have Chicago. If you guys did enjoy it, appreciate you dropping a thumbs up on YouTube, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really appreciate a rating or review over there to help the podcast grow. Let me know what you guys think in any of the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.